Sky 5 HD over a pursuit happening right now in, it's 405 in Los Alamitos, Mark? Oh, I'm sorry. He's talking to air traffic control right now, but stolen pursuit, stolen car pursuit. Looks like, is that an Audi on the 405? Don't know if we're looking at north or southbound right now, but as soon as Mark can come out of the discussion that he's having with air traffic control, we will bring him in and get some more information.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know the backstory when we come to these things. We just know that there's a pursuit, and Mark usually has the rest of the info. You can see that this car is being, trailed by police officers. We see one in the picture there. Wide open freeways at the moment. We don't know what's ahead. 10:44 is the time, so the roads are a little lighter than they would have been a few hours ago as we were in rush hour.
We're stuck here.
I believe that they're in, you're in which airspace. There is some military airspace right down there in Los Alamitos, and so it may be in that zone, and they have to sort of get through it and make sure they're able to speak with military ATC. We're northbound, I'm told now, on the 405 freeway. You can see there's someone right behind that vehicle. I'm sorry, what would you say, Roxanne? Okay, approaching the 605 freeway. Mark, I think I hear you clear now and able to speak to us. Come on in.
Yeah, Frank, my apologies, and thank you for filling in there. We are just coming up on a very delicate section of airspace here, coming out of the Orange County area here. We are in Seal Beach, Los Alamitos, Rossmore, the northbound side of the 405 freeway. You indeed had that correct. That Audi, that silver Audi, is a stolen vehicle suspect that has been working this 405 corridor between the 605 all the way down to the 73 freeway here. And so again, northbound on the 405 freeway, just coming through the Rossmore area, through Los Alamitos, coming up into Long Beach. Now, once we cross over the LA River river here, we are going to be in Long Beach proper. And so, again, moving up the 405 freeway, he has an option to exit, or he can also take the 5 freeway here. So he's going to get off in Florence, and that's going to be right outside the Honda dealership here. There's a Honda dealership right off of the exit here. And he's going to make his way. Is he going to make his way? He's going to try, and he might be hitting that truck there, but he's going to go climb the shoulder there, go climb the gore point into the opposite lanes of traffic and head northbound. So now he's going to be northbound over to the major, and he's going to have to turn east or west. And he's slowing down, coming up on an intersection where I believe the light is red. He's coming up on a red light there. And oh my gosh, look at that, my gosh. Almost got hit by that cross traffic there. Northbound on Shoemaker is what we understand, and he's just still making his way through the industrial area. He's out of the residential into more of an industrial area there, and there's a shot. As best we can tell, windows are pretty tinted, so it's hard to get in there and see exactly what's going on, but it certainly appears that there may be an additional person still in that vehicle there, because if I'm not mistaken, that might have come out of the passenger side door there. Go ahead.
Mark, we've got CHP Sergeant Tony Garrett on the line with us. Sergeant, what can you tell us about the suspect and who we're looking at here?
Well, sir, at this point, we're not quite sure who the suspect is. We do know that vehicle is stolen, and we are actively pursuing that vehicle now.
Sergeant, how do you handle a situation like this? We've seen so many different ways, from pit maneuvers to spike strips, and when it gets into a residential area, that has to pose a greater risk for public safety.
Well, sure. All pursuits have that risk, that's created, and, when we're involved in these things, our officers are constantly weighing that risk versus gain and pursuing the suspect. So we have to take all that into consideration and make sure we're, conducting this safely to bring it to a safe conclusion.
It's so disturbing when you see them at high speeds and running lights. Is there a moment where sort of a point at which a field supervisor will say, we have to do a pit maneuver, or there's some specific action like a spike strip or something like that? Is there some moment that helps them to make that decision?
Okay, guys, I'm on the north side. I do have all of you.
Well, sure. If that opportunity presents itself, and we can either initiate the pit maneuver or deploy a spike strip when it's safe to do so, then that's an option that's available to us. So the supervisor in the pursuit right now will have to make that determination and decide which avenue to take.
We're just seeing, well, this driver get caught in a position between a cruiser and another vehicle.
Oh, my goodness.
Hit from both sides and continues to move. Sergeant, in a situation like that, I mean, what do you do? Because now this person's incredibly reckless and isn't going to stop and would really do anything in order to get away from authorities. And with that being said, you know, people in danger at that point.
Absolutely. So, you know, like, again, these things are always dynamic. This guy is fleeing. We don't know, the vehicle was stolen, but the way he's driving can be a very dangerous thing. So, again, we have to weigh that risk versus gain and continue to pursue this guy.
Sergeant, thank you very much for joining us. It is 11 o'clock. You're watching the 11 o'clock hour of the KTLA 5 Morning News. Frank Buckley along with Jessica Holmes. We're going to hand it off now to Glenn Walker and Lou Parker.
Thank you very much, Frank and Jessica. Again, this is the KTLA 5 News at 11 a.m. And as times here in Southern California, we're starting here with a pursuit. This is a pursuit that we picked up in Orange County on the 405 northbound. Moved to the 605 southbound, now on the surface streets in Santa Fe Springs. And as you saw just a couple of moments ago, Lou, it looked like they had the vehicle trapped in a parking lot. He started to pull out on the street, was actually pinned between two CHP vehicles, but he still managed to escape and get away.
Yeah, this driver has definitely been driving recklessly this morning. You saw him cross over that median initially as well and do essentially a U-turn in the parking lot. And for a second, it looked like he was going to be trapped by the officers, but he hit at least 3 of them. He's still being pursued now by CHP. CHP picked this up about 10:15 this morning. Mark Kono's been above it all since early this morning. Mark, they're staying close to this guy now.
Yeah, indeed they are. Lou and Glenn, welcome. Here we go. Santa Fe Springs. We are on Telegraph westbound, just crossed over the LA River, and we are kind of moving in towards Santa Fe Springs and towards Montebello at this point. Telegraph is a major thoroughfare that crosses several cities here, and you can see he's kind of taking advantage of the fact that Telegraph is very lightly traveled at this point. So Sky 5 HD was, of course, first overhead with this breaking news as this guy was traveling northbound 5. And so, Glenn, as you mentioned, this guy was traveling in Orange County, north and southbound along the 405 freeway. He was on surface streets in Huntington Beach. A stolen car suspect here. You know, he wasn't necessarily driving too erratically until he got on the 605 freeway northbound, past the 91, and that's when he started encountering some slow traffic. And we actually did see him throw something out the window here. Now, we were just in the windshield of the car a few minutes ago, and it does not look like there is at least a front seat passenger, so it looks like he might, in fact, be the only person in the vehicle here. He did seem to have thrown something out a couple of minutes ago here, but what I can tell you right now is he is now coming up on Lakewood Rosemead, turning southbound on Lakewood, and this is going to be an opportunity for him to get on the freeway here. So southbound Lakewood from Telegraph, and he is being pursued very closely by the CHP, which we understand may be authorized to conduct a pit maneuver here. So he's going to forego the 5 freeway northbound. He might still have an opportunity to get on the 5 south. No, he's going to pass that up. He's going to stay in the Downey area now. The Downey area here, southbound Lakewood Rosemead. Southbound Rosemead off the 5 freeway is what we are looking at right now. Bear with me just a second here. He's into a parking lot. With me just a second here. Okay, he's into a parking lot, and he's just using that as a means to get through the intersection there, because at the intersection was a little bit slower traffic here. So we might be looking at pit maneuver coming up here shortly, and so it looks like that one CHP unit is moving himself into position to do exactly that. So over the course of the next, a little bit here, we might in fact see this guy be spun out here now. We did see him, jumping over a center median here, and that was in Santa Fe Springs, and that was when the CHP tried to trap him. They tried to box him in, and 2 CHP units on either side of him tried to pinch him up, but he was able to get through there and, again, proceed westbound on Telegraph, and now he's coming through Downey, and we'll try and get a street for you, but at any rate, coming through Downey at this point, moving westbound over towards the Rio Hondo. So we'll try and figure out exactly what is going on here in terms of what this guy is trying to do here, but he is now being pursued by what looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like a couple of those units may have dropped out here. He's northbound on, that's going to be Paramount, guys, Paramount northbound, and he's heading up to the 5 freeway here, and it looks like he may, in fact, be getting on the 5 freeway southbound. 5 freeway southbound, and so now we are back on freeways. 5 freeway southbound, Paramount on-ramp, and that is what we are looking at right now, and it looks like he is driving a little bit more aggressively than he was just several minutes ago when we first picked it up in Orange County here. But, okay, coming through Downey, south side of the 5 freeway, the Santa Ana freeway southbound, and he'll be coming up on Lakewood Rosemead. He's in that middle lane there, and so, you know, heading towards the 605 freeway, if he stays in the right 2 lanes, he can opt for the 605, and that is something that it looks like he might be doing here. The 605 transition is both those right lanes, and so it looks like he might be doing that past Lakewood Rosemead. We'll kind of follow through and see what he does here. Oh, my gosh, look at that. Okay, he's coming up on slower traffic, so he's utilizing that right-hand shoulder to get through, to get by some of that slower traffic here. So, wow, look at that. Okay, he almost knocked that sign over. He picked something up in the meantime. It looks like he hit that sign, and that's his bumper cover flapping over on the right rear. So, again, approaching the 605 north and southbound. If he stays in those 2 right lanes, he has the possibility of joining that 605. If he stays over to the left, that's going to be the continuation of the 5 south. So let's kind of see what he does here. We'll know in about another 20 to 30 seconds at this point whether or not he commits himself going southbound again. Remember, this originated, we believe, out of somewhere in Orange County, and so now he's moving off to the middle lanes, and so he can choose literally between the 5 south and the 605. All he has to do to get to the 605 is just move 1 lane over to the right, but it looks like he's going to go to the left, and so that might be a commitment to the 5 south. Let's see what he does, but you see that right rear bumper cover flapping in the wind there. And that's because he hit that sign just a short while ago here. So the 5 south, and he is locked into the 5 south there. And so he's going to be crossing underneath the 605 here momentarily. So coming out of, say, Montebello, coming out of Downey, heading down in towards Norwalk and Santa Fe Springs is what we're doing now. So now we're headed down to the Orange County line again, this time via the 5 freeway south as this guy kind of moves his way down the freeway there. Looking ahead, I can tell you that the freeway conditions look pretty much as you see them now, light to moderate at this point. You know, this is that stretch of the freeway that's only 3 lanes wide in either direction here, so traffic does tend to bunch up a little bit here. But for this time of the morning, it doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like that early morning commute traffic has all more or less died down, and so he has some open roads ahead where he is going to be able to utilize some of the speed and some of the open road to try and get away. But as we know, he has 2 layers of law enforcement helicopter above him. He's got CHP above him. He also has the Orange County Sheriff's Department above him. And so let's see what he does. Oh my gosh, he's turned into the center median there, the construction zone, and that's an odd thing to do here. So, okay, this is a dangerous one. He's going to switch off and pick up the northbound side of the 5 freeway. So, wow, okay, this guy's showing a little bit more erratic behavior. As you just saw there, he just picked up the northbound side of the 5 freeway, just now coming up on the 605. Guys, let me hand it over to you for just a moment.
All right, that was a pretty stupid move, gutsy move, whatever you want to call it. This guy's desperate attempt to get away from the CA, doing a U-turn in a construction area on the 5 freeway.
Well, we've seen him do a lot, including hitting several vehicles.
We picked this up. It was in Orange County.
He could get spun. Let's see what he does. He's on the transition road, guys. On the transition road, north 5 to the south 05, and there was a small window of opportunity where he could have gotten spun by that CHP officer who I believe is authorized to pit. But now we are back on the 605 south, and we have a little bit of transition traffic to deal with here, but once he gets past Florence, it's going to open up a little bit here, and so he's going to be southbound on the 605 freeway. Again, this is just transition traffic, and another quarter mile or less, maybe an eighth of a mile, it's going to really open up for him. So the 605 south is kind of where we are right now. We're just outside that miniature golf course there, and yeah, there you go. He's being pursued here, and you just saw that small window of opportunity where that CHP officer might have had an opportunity to pit, but this guy making his way over to the fast lane, over to the HOV lane, in fact, southbound 605 will be coming up on Imperial Highway in about a mile. Beyond that, an opportunity for the 105, but essentially we're moving back southbound.
We know there's somebody that was in the car that bailed out. Obviously, you can get some good information from him, you know, on what's going on here. Is it just the driver now that's in the vehicle, or are there 2 people? Because we did see something thrown out of the passenger side window.
I don't have that information right now as to how many passengers in the vehicle, so I couldn't give you that info for sure.
Oftentimes it's so difficult too, because this car it is allegedly a stolen vehicle with those tinted windows. You can't see anything in there, and that takes it to the next level, right? Especially hopefully when this guy does come to a stop, you guys have to treat the tinted window vehicles a little differently because you don't know what to expect inside that car, right?
Absolutely. With the tinted windows, we can't see inside, so it'd be very difficult for us to, figure out if this guy has any weapons, if there are more people in the vehicle. We really don't know because of those tinted windows.
Do you know what the call was when it came out initially?
I do not. I'm not sure what the initial for the vehicle was.
It looks like he did get off on surface streets in Santa Fe Springs and Downey, and then got back on the freeway. And it's almost maybe like he's maybe trying to circle back. Again, we see if they want to bail out, they want to usually bail out close to a familiar area that they're familiar with, correct?
Sure, and that happens a lot with these pursuits. They'll initiate in one area, drive throughout the county, and then they routinely end up back where they started at. So it looks like we're headed back towards that way now.
I think this took it to the next level when we were actually talking to our friend Jessica. We're talking to you live when CHP, at least 3 vehicles were attempting to stop him, and he hit all 3 of them, or at least 2 of them, and just kept going. That takes it to a next level, right, in terms of aggression. And,
and that's another technique that we can sometimes deploy, kind of boxing the vehicle in. But with this guy's erratic behavior, and like I say, and the dangerous driving that he's exhibiting, it just calls for a dangerous situation.
Yeah. And it's always tough too. Now he's off the freeway. If he ends up in a residential area, if he is reckless, then you worry about pedestrians and you worry cars being T-boned. Now he's sort of trapped here. I'm going to go the opposite direction through an intersection.
CHP is right behind him. Yeah, this guy is definitely in a desperate situation to get away one way or the other, and he doesn't care who's in his way. He's just going to knock him to the side. For
a while there, it looked like his tire on the right rear had maybe been affected, but I think that's just dust and smoke coming up from that bumper that's been ripped off. You see the CHP officer there a little bit closer. It's what I was trying to talk with Sergeant Garrett about, is that they pulled back on the freeway, and now that they're in these residential areas, but it always makes them seem to go faster when the car's behind them. It's the cat and mouse. It's such a fine line that they have to play.
Okay, you should be northbound Clark.
Go ahead, Sergeant.
Coming up on the 91 freeway here.
Sergeant, can you see what's happening right now in the video? Are you watching this?
I'm actually watching the TV shot now from you guys.
So in this capacity, he's going to try to. There we go.
And he spun him, guys. That is the on-ramp to the 91 East right here at Clark. So the Lakewood area here, and it looks like he just was spun out. He's got a couple of units who are behind him, and it looks like he's still trying to get that car to work. So he's pushing that car. I don't know if it's under control or not, but you can see that car rolling forward just against that curb there. So I don't know what condition that car is in. It may have in fact disabled the vehicle. So we'll see over the course of the next couple of minutes here. The CHP outside their vehicles with guns drawn, no doubt in an effort to tell this guy, to order this guy to come out of that vehicle. And we'll see again what this guy tries to do here. To this point, he has not complied with anything, and they have had to force the situation here. They have had to force the situation here, and we'll kind of pay attention and see what happens as the CHP, again, just pitted the guy on the Clark on-ramp to the eastbound side of the 91 freeway here, guys. Let me send it back to you.
Yeah, Mark, while we were talking to the Highway Patrol there, we saw him transition to another freeway, get off on some surface streets, and then get back on a freeway when was on this transition road to another freeway. Which freeways are we talking about here, and what area?
Inside explosives, so the officers have to be really careful in this situation not to approach. And of course, they're having conversations.
Looks like a door's opening.
Doors opening, guys. Doors opening. So the door, you can see the driver door is starting to creep open there. So the doors are movable at this point. It looks like he's kind of making efforts to give himself up at this point, and that is certainly some good news here. I see one hand. It's hard to know what he's doing. Our monitors are kind of small here, but I can certainly see his right hand moving there. But again, door opening, it looks like he's standing, and he's going to move himself into a position where the CHP officers can better see what he is doing there. But certainly his hands are visible, and it looks like at some point they're going to order him towards the middle of that on-ramp there, and maybe get on the ground. And at that point, the CHP officers can make their approach and get this guy into custody here.
Yeah, it looks like he just went down on his
Okay,
knees. Now
there
he's.
we go. There we go. It looks like he's getting down on the ground. Looks like he's getting down on the ground at some point here. He's still standing. It looks like he was getting down on the ground at the very least here, but he's motioning.
Oh, gosh.
He's motioning. Okay, we can go in a little bit tighter here, Rich. A little bit, just a little bit. Okay, down on the ground here, and they can see his hands here. His hands are going behind his back, and at that point, once the CHP feels that they are able to make an approach, they'll get a team of officers there and make their approach and take this guy into custody. But that's really our first look at this guy here. So it is the guy that has kind of led us on this pursuit from Orange County all the way up into LA here, finally terminating here on the on-ramp to the eastbound 91 right here at Clark. And so they're having him spread his hands out on the pavement there, and again, a team of officers will make the approach and take this guy into custody here. So that is certainly some good news here. I don't know at this point if there is anyone else in the vehicle here. I don't believe so. We do know that there was one additional person who got off the out of the car on the 55 freeway at Dyer, but yeah, there's the team of officers there. They're behind a shield, they're behind a barricade with a K9, and they are slowly making their approach, guns drawn, taking every precaution at this point, and it looks like one or two of these officers are going to make their approach and take this guy into custody. There you go. Hands behind his back, and let's get the cuffs on him. At that point, they'll feel like they're in a better position to clear the vehicle, and that's what that secondary officer is doing. Looks like that back door may be locked or immobile at this point, but there it is. Guy's in custody.
All right, so once again, another pursuit suspect taken into custody, and like we've seen so many times before, he's on his way to the pokey.
Yeah, such a dangerous situation to watch that. Just lucky that they were able to get him. That the pit maneuver was beautiful there on that side, the side exit. All right, and then they'll check the trunk. And we'll have more on this a little later.
And the sad part is that's a stolen vehicle, we believe. Yeah. So somebody's insurance company is going to be getting a phone call because there's a lot of damage to that Audi.
Yeah. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the KTLA News at 11 o'clock.